and welcome to Making Music. My name is Dan Aronie, and I will be your host this week. We are going to do something a little bit different. We have now been on the show, and Making Music has been for 2 years now, and we wanted to bring you a few highlight films from the last 2 years. We're going to start with one of my favorite interviews with Y&T. Dave Manikenny and John Nyman joined us, and for just some fun talk about a band from the East Bay, self-promoting themselves, and they were just a blast to be with that day. So here, let's go on and talk to Dave.
Well, when I very first started playing guitar, I was 16. It's kind of late, you know, by most people's standards.
Were you taking lessons at the beginning?
I did. I took about 2 or 3 lessons. and the guy came over one day after, you know, like the 3rd lesson, and he's like, "Did you learn your scales?" You know, and I didn't know him. But I was doing like, and he goes, "How did you learn to do that? What were you doing, the stretch and string thing?" And I said, "I don't know. I was just messing around." And, you know, and he heard me play some more, and he said, "You know, maybe you should just, you know, learn on your own." I think he was a little frustrated with me, but he could also tell that I was, you know, learning a lot of stuff, you know, sort of doing things myself. So.
Yeah, but you don't automatically turn into someone who's just stretching strings to, you know, to doing what you were doing with the albums. And
yeah, I know. That's my entire life. I don't know what I'm doing as I'm doing it.
Right.
And
I don't believe that. Behind us, we're seeing.
My sister was dating this guy that knew Herbie Herbert. Right, and this didn't happen because of her, but just was a weird backstory later on, you know, that she remembers going into Herbie's place, and Herbie was playing him this new band that he was putting together, Journey, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Listen to this guitar player, Neil Shaw, and he is amazing. Nobody's like this." And my sister goes, "My brother plays as good as that." and Herbie's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And here it was a year later, and Herbie had found out about me through somebody else. Right. Somebody had taken a demo tape, a first demo tape that we had put together, and went into the city and found out, "Oh, these are the guys," you know. And, you know, he hyped us up and said we, you know, put our guitars on fire and did all these kind of, you know, it was all BS, but just the same. Right. He's like, I gotta see these guys just for fun, you know, because I think he was just gonna laugh.
Now, were you calling yourself Y&T or Yesterday and
Today? We were Yesterday and Today. Okay. Yeah. And so he came out to a show, because we used to put our own shows on. We were kind of revolutionary in that way, that we'd go out to like these the halls, the local halls, whatever, the, you know, union halls or something like that. We'd rent it for $100
and sell the tickets yourself.
Yeah, we'd sell the tickets ourselves.
Yeah, no middleman.
Yeah, we'd put up, you know, flyers at the high school and say, "Hey, kegger party," you know, whatever. But we would pack the places, and we would start doing original material. So we, you know, all of a sudden started becoming this popular local band, at least, you know, sort of in the East Bay area. Yeah. And so when Herbie shows up and his partner Lou, we're playing this little dinky, you know, Weeks Park, you know, community center place. I think it holds like about 200 people or something. Max. You know, and there were, you know, tons of people outside, and it was just crazy stuff. But they saw us play, and they were like, "Oh my God, these guys are a trip." Yeah. So, you know, and then it was about, I guess, 6 months later they ended up signing us to a deal, and it was just us and Journey with them for couple of years, and we played.
So you're touring with Journey at the time?
Well, I mean, we were both managed by them, and we were constantly hanging. We were constantly playing shows together. Yeah. We probably did something like 30 or 40 shows within the next 2 years or so together, and buddied up.
We are back. If you're just joining us, we are making music, and we're doing some highlight films of the last 2 years. We have over 100 shows, and if you ever want to see any, and you've seen some of the shows and you'd like to replay them, come into Guitar Showcase, 3090 South Bascom Ave in San Jose. We have the DVDs, they're no charge. Now, our second interview was with Peter Grant, a great musician from the Bay Area. He started and went to San Jose State University. He played with Jerry Garcia. He was a staff musician on Dallas, Dynasty, Falcon's Crest, and Knots Landing for 10 years. So whenever you saw those TV shows and they had musicians in the background, Peter was invariably one of those musicians. And also, he played with Hoyt Axton for several years and toured with him. And we have a great tape showing Peter playing pedal steel.
Oh, well, we're going to go. You brought some pictures along, and we want to. And each one tells a little story. So we're going to get these pictures brought up on the screen.
My first.
Now tell us about
my
this
first
one.
electric guitar.
Yeah.
And growing hair to Beatle length, and first a Fender Jazzmaster.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We
And
can
it looks.
continue
I'm
on.
going to guess by looking at it, 1962-ish, 1963.
363.
Yeah.
That'd be 63.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, there's the.
Tell us about this one.
That's a band called Weird Harold. I was for a very short time. I was in that band. It was a local San Jose band. That was after I was in People. I was in People for a while. I played bass for People. While Robbie had mononucleosis.
Killer
Now, what is
bands.
that prop?
Yeah,
that they,
yeah,
what, now,
yeah.
tell me, what's the prop in that picture? It looks like a
It's-
spaceship a little bit, but
Yeah,
I can't
well,
really tell.
We might have been abducted at that point. It could be, but it was somewhere up in San Francisco. We
Really?
went on a photo shoot. Cowtown! I played at Cowtown for 3 years, 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
And there's Pete Grant, Hoyt Henry, Roy McMeans, Linda Henson, Don Cox, and Greg Coben. Greg Coben is a son of the late Cy Coben, who wrote not only Sweet Violets, but he wrote Good Woman's Love and a bunch of other great
Yeah,
songs.
and of course, Don Cox was very famous. Cowtown
That's
was
right.
years and years and
Exactly,
years. And
yeah.
he was the mainstay there, and boy, what a lot of great tunes out of there.
Yeah, so I left that band and immediately joined the Hoyt Axton band, and we can go on from that picture to the next one. I think we
this
can.
picture is?
That's me and Hoyt, and there's Mark. I'm in the middle there, and that's probably at the Palomino Club.
Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Dan Aronie, and this is Makin Music, and we're reviewing a couple years of shows that we've put on. Our third interview was with Scotty Osbourne, an Ozzy Osbourne impersonator, and Jeremy Epp and myself joined Scotty for an interview, and he had some great insight into the life and times of Ozzy Osbourne.
And we wanted to call the band Speak of the Devil after the Ozzy album that came out once again in the 80s, where Ozzy was playing Black Sabbath songs. We thought it was just perfect. We could play Black Sabbath music, we could play Ozzy music, we could play whatever we wanted to, and people would just love it.
Now, we got some pictures that we're going to bring up on the screen.
We do.
And let's get those, and tell us a little bit about them
Thank
as
you
they
very
come
much.
up. Here we go.
All right, that's me. All right, that's me on the left. This is one of the very, very first shows that Speak of the Devil ever played. The very nice gentleman on the right side is Mr. Brad Gillis. Brad Gillis, a sweetheart of a man, guitar player for Night Ranger, also the guitar player for Ozzy. After Randy Rhoads was tragically killed, Brad Gillis joined the tour and finished the 1982 tour with Ozzy. And I was on my way to the show, and I got a call from the booking agent, and she said, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Well, I'm in my car, so of course I'm driving and sitting down." She said, "Brad Gillis is here, and he wants to play with you." And I said, "It's not nice to tease me that way because, you know, you shouldn't do that." And she said, "No, really, Brad wants to play a couple songs and wants to know if it's all right and if your guitar player would mind if he just played some songs." I said, "Well, I'm going to have to break my guitar player's arms so Brad can get up and play as long as he wants to." Luckily, we didn't have to do any of the arm breaking. Our guitar player, Ken Sabbath, excellent musician, gladly gave his guitar to Brad, and Brad played Symptom of the Universe, Crazy Train, and Paranoid with it. It was a fantastic moment in my life, and that's a great picture. The expression on my face says it all.
And you know, we've all heard. Maybe a lot of people in the audience have not heard about the Bat story or the Alamo, but I mean, I never knew about the Bat story until about a week ago. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
I'd be happy to. I'm happy to tell the story because it's not about me. Now, I try to emulate Ozzy as best I can, you see, but there's some things I just won't do. And public urination or biting the heads off of flying rodents are up there with things I draw the line on. Won't do it. The Bat story is that on stage, Ozzy was playing a concert and somebody threw up a bat onto the stage, and Ozzy thought it was plastic or fake or whatever it was, and ran over and just picked it up, and Ozzy, being Ozzy, just snatched it in his teeth and snatched the head off it, threw it back, and Sharon is on the side of the stage going, "You idiot, it's real." So he had to go through a series of rabies shots, and it was just terrible. But you know what they say, there's no such thing as bad press. Any press is good. And here we are all these years later, still talking about Ozzy biting the head off a bat and urinating on the Alamo, and it's just wonderful stories.
Yeah, he did that. I don't think that's his real, he did that for shock value. And it definitely worked.
I think he did it because he was inebriated. I think he was just so drunk that the Alamo story came from that Sharon used to have to lock him into the hotel rooms because Ozzy would just get so ripping drunk and just wander around.
She would take all of his clothes
She would
away,
take all of his clothes.
Yeah.
So he didn't have anything to wear, but he wanted to go on a little walkabout. So he only grabbed a green dress that Sharon had left in the closet, and he went for a nice walk, you see. And I understand he had a bottle of Courvoisier, and while he was walking around, he felt the urge that he had to take care of some personal business and found a nice old-looking building. He thought he'd go around the corner and
he didn't even realize what it was.
Oh, he's from Birmingham. He doesn't know what the Alamo is. He wouldn't know, and he just thought nobody would notice. It's an old building, and next thing you know, police say, "Excuse me, sir, when you're done, can you step over here?" And they arrested him. It's a wonderful story.
It's amazing that the police were there at the same time that he was doing it. It's like, were they like circling the place or something?
I wouldn't be surprised. If you saw a man that looked like Ozzy Osbourne walk out of a hotel room in a green dress carrying a bottle of Courvoisier, if you were a police officer, you would follow him too.
You got a good point there.
Absolutely.
Oh, now how about the mannerisms that you've picked up over the years? Where did they come? How did you pick those up?
Well, absolutely. Thank God for the Osbourne television show on MTV. It's just so every time you watch, God bless Ozzy that he could put up with this crazy life that he's got himself and this crazy family. He has this $1 million mansion in Beverly Hills, and he just totters around it like he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know how he got there. And I think Ozzy would be happy with just a small room and a pint and just, a television that he could actually work the remote control of, It just doesn't seem like he'd ever understand these things. And his family's all crazy, and he's got pets that just, make messes all over his carpet. And it's just wonderful that you watch this show and you get engrossed and you care about this man that's got this reputation of being such a crazy person. And then you see him in his home environment and he just has no idea where he is and what he's doing. But then they show him on stage and he's a madman. He's this crazy ball of energy jumping up and down. He's still the same old Ozzy. So that show brought the character to me, and it also makes other people that might not know I'm doing an impression of Ozzy aware of what I'm doing. And people can appreciate it.
Our next show was with John Tristao, lead singer for Creedence Clearwater Revisited. John joined us, and Gary Weinroth, the host, and he had some great insight to his coming up through people and some of the groups that he played with earlier on, Daddy-O as well, and then joining Creedence Clearwater. And we ended with him a clip of Vina Del Mar in Chile in front of 30,000 people, and it was a great shot of John and the rest of the band.
I get this call from Stu Cook, bass player of Creedence Clearwater Revival, saying they were putting the band back together and needed a singer.
Getting the band back together.
Well, yeah, getting the band, and the minute he calls me, I'm thinking, oh my God, what could I possibly done to this guy? What's he want? I couldn't owe him any money.
He didn't know his wife,
And wow. So I sent him a tape, and here I am. It was that simple.
You've always sounded like Fogerty. I mean, So I think you do a better job than he does. I mean,
I had the
You do.
I don't want to go there.
It's a natural thing. We just heard it. It's great. I mean, you guys, you were singing in the back room there for a second while you tuned your guitar, and it sounded like I was listening to the record.
Wow. Well, thank you. I'm flattered.
It's great. It's absolutely great.
It's a dream gig. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to sing for Creedence?
Yeah, but not too many people can. I don't know where you get that range.
That's a tough one.
It is. I mean, you've always had that voice where you could go down low or up high. And Daddy-O, you and Barry sang some of those, like Angel Baby and some of those girl parts. Yeah, how you did that,
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
We covered all the gamut.
That's a lot of range, man. I don't know. I still don't know how you
Back
did
then it was youth. Now I have no idea where I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's just practice.
Yeah, I guess.
Practice makes perfect. You keep your chops up and you go.
I do, and they don't cut us any slack. We do 100 dates a year, and all over the world. Been around the world 7 times.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So you're living a good straight life just to stay awake during these gigs.
We did the double album. We've got a double album out, live CD called Recollection, which is all the hits.
We've got some footage. Let's see of you playing at where? That's that Vina
Del Mar in Chile.
Chile.
And it was one of their biggest events. And forgive me down there if you're listening, but it was one of their biggest events ever. And they presented us with a Lifetime Achievement Award and several things. It was a huge production. Yeah.
Killer.
40,000 people there.
That's amazing.
It was a hell of a concert.
It's like the Beatles playing somewhere. I mean,
it was large.
That's huge. We've got a little footage of that concert, and let's look at that real quick if we can. That's amazing. Oh, look at, we got lights, we got sound, we got action. That's beautiful.
Because you're mine. Oh, girl, you better watch out.
We are back again, and if you're just joining us, you've got a chance to see some of the highlight shows over the last 2 years for Making Music. We started with Y&T and Dave Manichetti and John Nyman, and we went to Peter Grant, the great pedal steel player from the Bay Area, and Ozzy Osbourne impersonator Scotty Osbourne, and also John Tristao from Creedence Clearwater Revisited. Our last show took us to the Shoreline Amphitheater to see Steve Miller's crew setting up for the big concert with Steve Miller, Doobie Brothers, Greg Kihn, and Big Brother and the Holding Company, and what it was like to set up for a big venue concert. Scott gave us some great insight, and he introduced us to the regular band and how things work backstage before a big concert. And again, thank you for joining us in Making Music. We hope you like this show, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. We arrived at Shoreline Amphitheater the morning of the concert. Steve Miller's crew is busy setting up for a sold-out show. Here is where we meet up with Steve's manager, Scott Bouret. So where does your day start?
Okay, so when I first get here, normally the gear is already set up, as you
Now,
can
what
see
time
right
do you usually
now.
get here? Yeah.
I normally show up an hour before the band shows up,
Okay.
and that enables me to go through everything and make sure that it's right, so that when the band shows up, we're right to work. And the first thing I normally do is I check the placement of all my microphones, which, if you want to kind of follow me, I'll show you how that works, and then after that I go to front of house. So make sure that the high-pass filters are on, the pads are on, the placement is right, that's right. Same thing with the guitar amps. I try to mic them off so they're just a little bit off axis, because if you mic them dead center, then they tend to be really bright. And since Steve plays Stratocasters, the further off to the side, the warmer the sound will get.
Now, how long has it been playing the Dr. Z amp?
We have been using these for the last 2 years. Prior to that, we were using reissue Vox AC30s. And what this basically is, Dr. Z's version of a Vox AC30.
Okay.
And it just sounds a little bit better. I think they sound amazing. You'll hear them today as we go. So, and this is all he's using. I mean, it's just one little 30-watt amp,
Yeah.
2 12s. He's got a pretty stock pedal board, a wah pedal, a couple of different boosts, a compressor, and a couple of different delay lines.
And I'll tell you, that OCD pedal is extremely popular right now.
It is. We have Tyler, which is the stage manager, and Tyler's job, especially on a night like tonight when there's multiple acts, is to make sure that the show runs smooth, that the opening acts don't play longer than what they're supposed to play, because we do have curfew issues, and we know that Steve wants to do a 2-hour show, so therefore we have to make sure that, the opening acts play exactly what they're supposed to do. And everybody knows this when the deals are made, but sometimes people get a little carried away, and then
all that does is break down, and then you have to get them off faster,
Absolutely.
and the next band on faster, and
and
it's
that's
just
again what Tyler does. So, and then of course, there's the techs, which are Wes and Tyler, and Jake, which are the 3 backline techs, and their jobs are to basically make sure that they're assigned gear. Wes takes care of Steve, Kenny, and Billy, which are the 3 guitar players, and Tyler takes care of Norton Buffalo, Joseph, and Gordy, and then Jake kind of floats and helps out wherever he's needed. And then the final part, actually the final 2 direct employees are John Nielsen, who's our monitor guy, and then Randy Garber, who's the LD or lighting designer. And that's the internal core. And then, of course, like I say, there's the band, and then there's the internal drivers. We have our own drivers that drive our own personal coaches and drive our own semi and stuff like that.
Making Music would like to thank you for watching the show and hope you enjoyed joining us backstage to get a great inside look into what goes on behind a big venue concert. And we will leave you now with the Steve Miller Band live at Shoreline Amphitheater.
Suddenly the dawn, more breeze. covetous of love. People talk about me, baby. Yeah. They say I'm doing you wrong, doing you wrong. Don't you worry, no, darling, no, don't worry, 'cause I'm right